this week's astrology. So this is the 26th of October to the 1st of November. And this is a week all about alignment. It's all about words matching actions. And in a way, because Mercury and Mars are going to be dancing with each other in some really beautiful harmony with Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune, it's really this idea of what does it feel like to be in alignment? And equally, what does it feel like when you take a step away from that alignment, where there's a mistruth, maybe, or you say something that you're not going to fulfill on? And so that is all to say that this week is here to help you really land internally what alignment feels like. We'll be seeing it in the collective, all the places where words and actions aren't actually matching up, where maybe what the media is reporting isn't actually the action or the step that was taken, or there was a mistruth spoken, something that was promised and not delivered on. This is a week which will force the creation of alignment. And personally, that means that we get to play around in our own microcosms with what it looks like when we're really honest with ourselves, when we say what we're going to do and we really mean it. And you'll also notice that when you're not quite in flow with that energy, you also really feel it. So let's jump into it. Oh, and I'll quickly mention we are in Mercury shadow period. I want to make that really, 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 really clear. It's really important. Next week, we're going to have a full moon in Aries in Bharani Nakshatra. It's a big energy all around, like letting go and death and allowing things that have passed expiry to be released, as well as Mercury retrograde being celebrated that weekend. So, couple of things. I will link below the Mercury retrograde deep dive that I've done, which just generally talks about Mercury retrograde. And I would be saying, look at that video in particular, how to work with the shadow period that we're in at the moment, because it's like a cheat sheet to help us not experience Mercury retrograde at in such tension, or um, it helps us get the lessons before Mercury stations retrograde. Anyway, more in that. Finally, I will mention, before I dive into the daily forecasts, that with that full moon in Bharani in Aries, Bharani Nakshatra, which is a part of Aries, as well as Mercury retrograde, I'm going to have this group ritual and reading pack together. So it will include personal written readings for both the Aries full moon as well as Mercury retrograde, sacred practices for both, importantly for Mercury retrograde, how to like cleanse with the energy, and the astrology forecast for both. I'll put the link below when that is ready. Okay, let's jump into it. Sunday, 26th of October. Okay, it's not the easiest start to the week this week because the moon is Gandanta. You might have heard if you've been watching these forecasts, I've mentioned Gandanta. It's whenever the moon is moving from a water to a fire sign. And there's 3 points in the zodiac that happens. This particular point is going to be the moon moving from Scorpio, Jyeshta Nakshatra, to Sagittarius, Mula Nakshatra. And it can feel itchy. There can be necessary tension coming up, particularly if you've, like last week, or even Saturday, you weren't kind of like processing what was really going on for you, or kind of distracting yourself instead of fully feeling. The universe will almost force you to feel what's going on, what you're repressing from yourself. We've got some hints, which is really nice, from the asteroids as to what the moon is going to be really focused on and what that Gandanta, what that karmic point is all about. The moon is going to be sitting with Medusa. Heads up, this is all about boundaries. The knot we are dealing with is about personal boundaries. It's about where you say yes when you really mean no, where you people please instead of pleasing yourself. And then where you move to shut people off, to ghost people, to not deal with them because you're afraid of what they will ask of you and your ability to almost, well, to say no. Sunday's a day to get really comfortable with no, like no with compassion, no, and I still love you. It's that energy, and there can be resolution. So allow the universe to help you establish those boundaries. And boundaries aren't things we establish once, they're things that are constantly tested. They're one of the karmic playgrounds that we get to experience. And it's almost like there is a new cycle that has the potential to start around boundaries for you on Sunday. Just pay attention because you can find that this boundary conversation, this boundary energy is really triggered by a material possession, money, how you're being paid, or what you feel you're owed from another. It feels like it's very much related to the material realm. So pay attention to the places, the stories in the head around maybe where you feel you've sacrificed yourself for another and it hasn't been recognized, or you feel like you haven't been thanked for that. Really hone in on that. Maybe where you've lent someone something and they've never given it back, or you're still resenting something you've given someone. It's not about fixing those things, it's listening to the story that the mind is bringing to you so you can clear it up for you. Boundaries really don't have anything to do with anyone else in your world. They're all about you and following what is in flow as opposed to what is in tension, even if there's a little bit of tension as you need to say no. Know that the discomfort of Sunday will pass, but I would be saying, like, if you can and you're feeling brave and fearless and courageous, dive into it, feel it, use it to understand who you are. What's really nice is that Jupiter is going to be aspecting the moon, and Jupiter is now exalted in Cancer. I've done a video with horoscopes on that, and I'll put it below if you haven't seen it. It'll help you guide you over the next kind of 3 years that it's bouncing in and out of Cancer. Now, because Jupiter will be aspecting the moon, it means that even though there's this tension around personal boundaries, there's deep and profound wisdom that's sitting underneath that, that's sitting with that no, that's sitting with that no, thank you. Um, so it's really about listening to your heart, not the mind. And even if you notice that you feel guilt around saying no to someone or putting in place a boundary, guilt is not the soul. Guilt is the ego. I often think of guilt as like the trump card of the ego. And very often when we're reestablishing or changing our programming, the ego will play the guilt card, or our inner child will play the guilt card because it's something new. It's something different. And so don't take the guilt that comes up as truth, but listen to its story and even take it as confirmation that you're starting a new cycle for yourself. Also on Sunday, Mercury will be trine Saturn. There's a lot going on, like I said at the beginning. Mercury and Mars are together this week. They're both going to be trine Saturn. They're both going to be trine Neptune, um, and in harmony with Jupiter. So just know that we're going to have this first part of this harmony on Sunday. So you can find that the moon really supports this transit of Mercury trine or in harmony with Saturn. That it's quite nice actually that it's helping you speak intuitively about what you're feeling, even giving you the ability to have difficult conversations about an emotion that's coming up, about something that you would normally push to the side. And it's a time to really trust your intuition on Sunday, to be considered in your words, knowing that words create karma, it's just fine. Like so long as we exist, we create karma and can have a really big effect on the people around you. Okay, Monday, 27th of October. Moon is in Mula Nakshatra, aligned with the galactic center in Sagittarius, sitting with Shiva. Oof, like, like dissolving energy that wants to get to the root of an issue. It wants you to understand the cause of your suffering, the cause of the issue from Sunday. And that can be related to the father, a figure of authority, someone in leadership, or even a spiritual teacher. It's like someone you might put above you. There's something that's being sorted out around that energy on Monday. Be really careful of this because the moon in Mula Nakshatra can actually be quite destructive. And it's kind of that feeling of like, when we prune a plant or a tree a little bit too much than it needs, that's what we want to be careful of on Monday. Like that we're not chopping off a branch that didn't need to be chopped off. So just be really, really aware of maybe where your desire to get to the bottom of something is actually kind of chopping off that branch. It's being a little bit too destructive. And just notice where that obsession with being right or knowing the truth is stopping you from being compassionate for the people around you. We are all flawed. It is part of the divine Leela for us to be imperfect and yet perfect at the same time. Now, this moon It wants to break things apart. It wants to break them down. But the placement this week can suggest that this is actually like, as you kind of like do prune without cutting off those branches, what you're doing is you're actually creating space for something new to step in, a new creation, particularly energy. If you've been looking to study something new, to learn from someone new, or seeking out a teacher, or wanting to travel, pruning these things and kind of getting to the root of the problem is going to free up a lot of space to allow that to come in. Now, it can be quite a revealing day, very transformational, and you can even find that there's secrets that pop out, even if they're small things, or a secret that maybe you've been keeping. The moon will be aspected by Saturn, so it just means that there can also be unnecessary structure that gets removed, things that have been keeping you very restricted, the way in which you've been trying to control other people, that can kind of pop up. I mean, Monday's kind of just got naturally this destructive energy to it, but we just don't want to take it too far. We want to harness it to help us create space. Now, also on Monday, Mercury is going to enter a part of Scorpio called Anuradha. And Anuradha, the symbol of Anuradha is the lotus. So it's going to give us lots of hints as to what is coming. And because Mercury is in its shadow phase, part of Mercury retrograde will be occurring in Anuradha. So it will actually station in this part of Scorpio on at the beginning of November. Yeah. So Mercury in Anuradha, it is a place of devotion and worship. It's also not an easy part. Like nothing really in Scorpio is easy, but Mercury, when it's in Anuradha, it gives us great intuition. It gives us almost like a torchlight to see through the darkness and the shadows, to see where we might be projecting our stuff onto the people around us. But at the same time, it's going to give us necessary tension in conversations that we're having. Maybe conversations that we expect to be quite easy and to work through quite easily actually bring up a lot of tension, which is that mud that the lotus is going to grow through. So just be prepared that it can feel like when you're talking, you're not, like ideas aren't landing the way they normally do. People are throwing up the reasons why maybe they don't agree with you, that things just don't flow as easily. And that's the mud from which the wisdom is going to come from. So it's a time to really then sit in that tension. It will work out, but there's wisdom the universe is trying to give you around how you communicate, what you're projecting onto other people, and even the devotion to see the people that you speak to as yourself. Now, Mars is going to, oh God, there's a lot happening on Monday. Mars is going to be entering Scorpio on Monday. It rules Scorpio in Vedic astrology, and it'll be there till the 8th of December. It's going to be conjunct the Black Moon Lilith. There is so much Scorpio energy this week, even though the sun is not in Scorpio yet in sidereal astrology or in Vedic astrology. But Mars will enter Scorpio. It will still be in Vishaka Nakshatra, which sits across Libra and Scorpio. And it calls for you to go deeper, to feel, which is not Mars's strong suit, even though Mars rules Scorpio. It can be a little intense, which Mars likes. And honestly, it can be a little bit frustrating. So, what you can do to work with this energy while Mars is in Scorpio is institute discipline around your action. Create some order and structure if you don't have it. If you don't have like a loose daily plan, you might find that benefits you now. Particularly because Mars is very much about like physical movement and the body and action you want to take. That can mean like putting in place a strategic plan, putting in place a plan of how you want to work out and exercise, discipline around maybe going for a walk each morning or the afternoon. It's that type of energy. Um, I would be saying like really use the action of Mars. Like Mars wants to move. It's very intense to give you structure, to give you the motivation to create structure and order. And I would say particularly focus this structure and order around your life and routine. The things you want to start to improve your health and well-being will benefit you immensely through to the end of the year using this day. It's sitting next to the Black Moon Lilith, so you can find it's a time of being really honest with yourself, particularly if you're putting forward like a plan around your well-being and health, being honest with how often you're actually going to show up to the gym or how often you're actually going to walk. And Black Moon Lilith can also help you think about your structure differently. Instead of adopting like a patriarchal linear structure, it might look like you plan out how you exercise with the moon or with your cycle. It's more about like the organics of even considering the season that you're in. Are you heading into winter? Are you coming into summer? That is going to affect what your body wants to do. And the Black Moon Lilith will help you ground that in what you're going to do. Now, if you have your natal Mars in Scorpio, you will know all about this energy. Feel free in the comments below to share your wisdom. Okay, Tuesday, the 28th of October. The moon is still in Sagittarius, but it's moving from Mula Nakshatra to Purva Ashada. This can feel really creative, expressive. If there's something that's been burning within you, maybe an idea that's kind of been ruminating with you over the last month, something that you just can't repress anymore that feels very creative, you can find that Tuesday's the day to actually just like put pen to paper, to let it into the world. Again, it doesn't have to be a life-changing idea. It could be something small that you've just kind of been tinkering with that you want to bring forth. It makes it a highly creative day where there's this, even though a lot of the energy at the beginning of the week's been quite destructive, it's like this call to reconnect with the creative energy of the universe. Um, just be careful of who you're around on Tuesday. This is a weird thing to say, because there's quite an intuitive flow to Purva. You can be really easily influenced by the people around you. And particularly if you're kind of lacking confidence in that idea or that thing you want to birth into the world, just be careful who you're sharing that idea with. Um, because when an idea is not fully fledged, sometimes someone's feedback or criticism of it can kind of shut our creativity down instead of encouraging it. So just be careful who you share what you're thinking with, until you kind of have it fully fledged and you've got confidence behind the idea. That said, it's a great day to clear things out, even to cleanse yourself. Getting in the water, getting in the sea, in a bath, and in the ocean is really beautiful with the moon in this part of Sagittarius. Just keep a watch on your well-being and mental health. And you can find that if you've been feeling a little bit run down or kind of just like mentally overwhelmed, that this creative energy can be deeply healing for you. So you can find that like there's some healing in using your creativity. The moon's still going to be aspected by Saturn, so things can feel slow, um, and even a little bit serious. And you can even find that how you want to focus your creativity almost has like a more long-term vision to it instead of just being playful. That you might also find that some of the emotion that comes up and the people that you get influenced by, if you do listen to that feedback, it can almost have things feeling quite restricted or like you're a little bit trapped. So just be careful with that, and maybe getting into the sea, the bath, a lake is the perfect antidote to that. Now, Mars is going to be trine Jupiter on Tuesday, which is beautiful. It's quite auspicious because Mars is in a nakshatra ruled by Jupiter, known as Vishaka. So you can feel like there's a lot of wisdom in how you're acting on Tuesday. There's higher knowledge that's coming through you. Not a desire to really focus on detail on Tuesday, but to really like to focus on the bigger philosophical idea. And even to dive deeper into spirituality. There can actually be a lot of luck on Tuesday with the actions that you choose to take, and also equally what you choose not to do. Just be aware that at this time, you can find that some of that wisdom that kicks in from Jupiter means that you start to see clearly the things you need to stop doing, the things you need to end, the cycle you need to close, and even the action you need to close, you need to take to close something off. Particularly if you've been feeding yourself or giving energy to something which drains you, which doesn't feel dharmic or just doesn't feel right. And that's good enough reason to stop. Now, Venus is going to enter Chitra Nakshatra until the 8th of November. It's in Virgo. And this can be really frustrating. So, because Venus is debilitated in Virgo, and she's in Virgo at the moment, and she's going to be hitting her point of debilitation. Now, debilitation isn't necessarily a bad thing in astrology. It just means that the planet, in order to access its energy, we have to apply a little bit of effort. So I would just be saying the way that a debilitated Venus often shows up is where we're kind of demanding perfection, where we're wanting something that is just not achievable in this world. We're kind of expecting the superhuman from ourselves and from the people around us. And this can be a call to just notice the judgment that comes with that when people don't live up to our expectations. Now, Venus will move out of the Virgo part of Chitra next Monday, so things will get easier, but just notice that perfectionism tendency can be at play until then. And also notice where you're overthinking, unsure of how to move, or underestimating yourself, kind of like lacking confidence in things like love, money, um, the relationship you have with your possessions or what you might want to possess. And in particular, where you're comparing yourself to others. And that's where that perfectionist thing is coming from, where you're looking at a friend or a social media post or a social group and you're judging that edited version of someone upon how you should be. In that, really witnessing what it is that you're judging, you can find great liberation from within you and a way of seeing them as a perfect teacher for you to stop comparing yourself. Now, Wednesday, the 29th of October, the moon is in Capricorn. It's in Uttara Ashada, moving into Shravana Nakshatra, two nakshatras that sit in Capricorn. And it will move into Shravana around 12 p.m. in Sydney, 2 a.m. in Rome on Wednesday, and it will be there from 9 p.m. on Tuesday in New York. Now, regardless of that, the moon on Wednesday is going to be sitting with Pluto and Pallas Athena. This can bring victory in matters that you've been working with over this month, particularly related to your responsibility and your work. It can also help you see what you've been hiding from yourself. It can be a day where the subconscious is really pronounced, particularly your shadow, like the part of you you repress and you project onto the people around you and it grates against you. You can start to own and fully take responsibility for more of that stuff, which makes it easier to be in the world. Um, and you can kind of see the gold in that, the diamond that lives within that gold insight. Given that the moon, which is the mind, will also be sitting with Pallas Athena, who's an asteroid, it's also a day where the mind is actually willing to step forward in situations it would normally not have the confidence to. It would normally doubt itself. So you can find that you might walk into a meeting that you weren't invited to, just inviting yourself in. You walk up to someone and say hi because you want to make that connection. It's like that energy of like allowing yourself to be in places you would normally tell yourself a story that you don't belong, understanding that you belong wherever you put yourself. It's a day also to really listen, particularly in the afternoon. And to start to, with that listening, connect the patterns in your life that you're being shown. You can even find that there's a new way forward in your work and responsibilities if things have got a little bit tough, and to feel like you're starting to connect things, to bring things together in a more coherent manner. Add to that on Wednesday, Mercury is trine Neptune. Now, this is part of a larger pattern at play this week I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but I love a Mercury conjunct Neptune or a Mercury trine Neptune. It's like a microphone being put up on your intuition. So it helps us all see just how psychic and attuned we really are. It's a great time to listen to your intuition. Um, it can bring really intense dreams, spiritual downloads and knowledge, understanding, and just the watch out with all of that. The discernment with any of those downloads if it separates you from anyone else, if it has you seeing anyone else as different from you, it's not the soul. That's still the ego. So often the soul doesn't really talk with words. It talks with pictures. This um kind of like the subconscious and our shadow will normally talk with like, well, it will create that separation. It will talk with pictures, but also some words. Just pay attention because, like, the worst thing we can do when Mercury is trying Neptune is think that we're receiving some important message, and actually, all we're doing is we're creating greater division in our world. And what we really need right now is unity. Um, so you can also find that Mercury trine Neptune energy, it brings a deepening of the connection you hold to the Divine Mother, however you want to see her, and to the ending of a cycle that you've been playing out in your ancestral lineage, particularly your maternal ancestral lineage, and within your family life if things have been really tense there at the moment. Thursday, the 30th of October, the moon is still in Capricorn. and it's moving from Shravana to Dhanishta. Two nakshatras again in Capricorn. Dhanishta sits a little bit across Aquarius, and it will move into Dhanishta at 1:04 p.m. in Sydney, 3:04 a.m. in Rome, and 10 p.m. on Wednesday in New York. And regardless, the thing to think about on Thursday is it's all about dancing. You might find that you're called to dance, to move in rhythm, to connect to your inner beat, your inner drum, that like that music within you that shows you where to go, that allows you to dance and move through life with joy. You can also find that like materially you want to connect more with music and poetry today. And it's an energy which can also see you being the center of attention, particularly when it comes to your work and responsibilities or something that you have been caring or looking after. You can kind of find you get pushed into the center of attention, or people want you to share your light with them in a way. The moon will be aligned with Lilith, and that means there's going to be immense power in this moon, like really knowing what it is to know your value, even the call to walk away from what no longer serves you. Or if someone hasn't been respecting you, it's almost just like that boundary conversation we're having at the beginning of the week, being able to say no with compassion and love, but just understanding where someone's at and knowing it's really not our job to change them. We can simply just change the way we see ourselves, and we can still love people without them being in our lives. This is a moon that can also bring conversations and messages that give you recognition. You might get an email or a message from someone in your family or a boss or a colleague congratulating you, or just like that energy of like recognition. And I would be saying, if you're having trouble concentrating today or you're just feeling a little bit off on Thursday, put some music on, preferably not Spotify. Put some music on and enjoy it, and really use it to stimulate the mind. Now, Mars is going to be trine Saturn. Mars moves into harmony with Saturn. Um, and this is always an interesting combo for me because Mars loves Saturn in Vedic astrology. Saturn doesn't love Mars so much. It's kind of this like mismatch energy. So it can really call for you to slow things down, to plan, to get ordered, to really understand the long-term value of the actions that you're taking instead of doing something impulsive. And it can manifest also, just pay attention, as the universe throwing you a couple of curveballs, like canceling plans, canceling meetings, simply not allowing something to move forward because the time isn't right, and Saturn governs time. The key to this energy, if you want to work with Mars, trine Saturn, and make the best of it, it is really to embrace discipline, to surrender to what is, to surrender to what is frustrating and see that it's there to help you. Even if you can't see it in the moment, imagine the best case scenario, and that's where the universe is pushing you. This is also going to be a really big collective energy because Saturn has a collective role, and I just feel like it can have an effect upon government and institutions not to knee jerk, to really think things through, and for action to be delayed on something. It feels like it might manifest through messages as well as protests, a lot of energy around divesting. That's been going on from the collective as a form of resistance. It's almost like, how can the collective come together and have sustained action to create change? Now, Mercury is going to oppose Uranus. And this is another collective energy at play, which will be peaking on Thursday, but we'll be feeling throughout the week. Um, and because Mars and Mercury are aligned, they're both opposing um, Uranus, but Mercury will be perfectly opposed today. And it can bring unexpected news out of the blue. It can also bring issues with technology and electronics because Mercury is in its shadow phase, and Mercury and Uranus are very similar in energy. I would be saying, be really careful with your words and just prepare for unexpected news today. You can find that, again, there's a big social issue that comes out to play around children and minors because of the positions of the planet. And also, like something is unexpectedly coming out into the open in order to be witnessed by the collective. Personally, that this is going to be a period of time to just be really careful with what you say to the people around you, be really impeccable with your word. If you want to vent about what someone's doing, Maybe write it down in your notes and keep it to yourself. Today is not a day to gossip. You, because people will be listening, overhearing, or you might find that the email that you're venting in doesn't go to the right person. So be careful. Black Moon Lilith finally on Thursday is going to enter Scorpio. I love watching the Black Moon Lilith shift. She brings truth. And she's going to be sitting with Mars and Mercury, and she's this Durga like energy, kind of fiery, the mother of Kali. So she's joining this grand trine with them and opposing Uranus. And it just means that truth is coming through. She has a 9-month cycle through each sign. It's very maternal energy. And so you can find these 9 months she's in Scorpio. It's really secrets coming up. And you are being called to be more honest and authentic with your words. Um, it's an energy which brings compassionate action, being fiercely and courageously honest, even if it's countercultural. But we want to do it in a way which is not divisive, um, and it's not hateful. It's really understanding that there are many sides to one issue. And what you can do is follow what is dharmic and true for you and find peace in understanding all the others because they will always exist. It's the nature of this earth school. So just know this is a week. It really feels like there'll be tremendous change in institutions driven by collective and individual action, and this will be one of the transits that does that. Now, nearly there. Friday the 31st of October, the moon is in Aquarius. I'm pretty sure 31st of October is Halloween as well. Kind of like that combo, Aquarius and Halloween, although it's actually Easter in the Southern Hemisphere. That's a whole other thing. And it will be moving into Shatabishak Nakshatra. The moon will be sitting with Persephone and Kali, and this is really about being honest, hearing the truth, even being in a state of rebirth, like emerging from the shadow, ready to birth something new into the world. There can kind of be this sense of like energy running through you, like a new spring is coming. You can find that solutions come up today in strange, unusual ways to long-standing problems, including health issues that you've been having if you have been having them. The moon will also be aspecting the north node, which rules Shadabishak. So just know the energy can be really heady. If you notice there's too much overthinking, slow it down. Get into nature. Move from the body. Move from embodiment, not what the mind is spinning to you or the way it's kind of like looping. This is also Friday, a day that can bring new beginnings or a new chapter in your health and healing journey. Maybe spurred on by earlier in the week thinking about the order and structure that you want to bring to that part of your life. There can really be a desire on Friday to move away from the mainstream, from what you see the collective doing and to follow what is true. And it's a day which can bring you solutions, understandings, the medicine, and the cure. Let's finish on Saturday, the 1st of November. We're finishing the week in Aquarius. We're finishing the week not in Gundanta, where we started the week. So definitely the end of the week is a little bit easier. And the moon will be moving from Shadabishak to Purva Bhadrapada, still in Aquarius. So there's this really strong rebellious spirit as we head into Saturday, as we head into the 1st of November. Authentic energy, the excitement of not doing what everyone else is doing, and almost like the mind getting off on going its own way. You can even find that late on Saturday, the energy actually shifts to become quite mystical, almost occult, where that rebellious or that rebellion is actually about following what is true, what is hyper unconventional, but what is really connected to this. And I would say like Saturday is actually very lucky. Because this is the first time in 11 years where the moon will be in Purvabhadrapada, which is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter will be exalted. So really enjoy that expansive, that mind-opening energy on Saturday. And you can find that within that, there's this desire to serve others, to serve yourself, to serve the body. And at a deep spiritual level, you might even get a glimpse of really like the interconnection of everything, how important community is over hyper individuality, how as a society we are returning back to the connection to our community. And sometimes the cost of that is convenience, but what we gain by knowing our connection with each other, by knowing that we're all one, is closer to the truth than anything else. Finally, Chiron is going to re enter Pisces. Chiron is Gandanta at the moment. So Chiron is the wounded healer. If you are going through menopause, he is your guy. Generally, when we experience menopause, it will be during our Chiron returns. That's a general statement. It's not true for everyone, but I would be say like truth for most of the readings that I do. And Chiron really deals with our inner wounded healer, that abandonment wounding that we hold. And as he's in retrograde, this can be a lot of introspection, regardless of if you're menopausal or not, just a lot of introspection around abandonment, around where did that start? What is that about? Um, Even like a frustration around healing it, knowing that we're never meant to fully heal that wounding. But as Chiron re-enters Pisces, and it will be in the final nakshatra known as Revati or Revati until the 5th of March, you can find that it starts to give you the deeper energetic underpinnings to what that abandonment wounding is about. Even understanding that it has nothing to do with your parents, that it's actually the belief that you're somehow not divine, that you've been separated from God. And that can feel quite strong. So that is this week's astrology. If you want to dive deeper into your personal chart, I have one-on-one readings open for October and November. Or if you just want a taster, check out the ritual and reading for the Bharani, Aries full moon, and Mercury retrograde next week, but it's live now. And I'm just wishing you a wonderful week. I hope that these videos guide you. I love hearing feedback and commentary as to how they support you if you feel like dropping that below. It helps me. And if there's something you want me to dive into, something you want to learn about, you've been curious about, also feel free to comment below and I will look at making a video about that or including it in next week's weekly forecast.